All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Josh Cowen. I'm an education policy expert based at Michigan State University, and until May, I also have a visiting role at a litigation group called the Education Law Center. I won't recite each of my other credentials. For the purposes of this hearing, I'll just simply say three things. I've been studying vouchers and school choice more generally for 20 years. I used to be optimistic about the way that smaller versions of bills like this could be part of a targeted solution to some shortcomings in education policy. But over the last decade, I changed my mind as vouchers caused some of the worst academic results in the history of the field. I've read HB 3 and its companion bill in your Senate, and I recognize its language is similar to bills introduced all over the country. To level set, I need to tell you that all education savings accounts are vouchers, although not all vouchers are ESAs, and I'm happy to talk in the Q&A about the difference. The private school tuition piece of this bill is a voucher. The rest of them are add-ons. Although I applaud what I truly believe are good faith attempts to address shortcomings in other state bills, I still see little in the current language to avoid three key problems that we see in other states. First, and this has come up all throughout the day, in today's form, these bills prioritize the rights of private schools over the rights of parents. They give the schools the choice, not school choice for kids and families. Second, and related, please know that eligibility isn't the same as access. Although I truly applaud the eligibility criteria laid out in this bill for students from lower income families and those with disabilities. Without meaningful provisions to compel, or at least incentivize, private providers to admit those children, the take-up rate is going to be very, very different than the eligibility criteria laid out in the bill among Texas families. It's going to reflect wealthier and disproportionately white families and those already in private school. This is something we have seen in every single other state that's passed a bill like this. The third piece is, and this is the part that I think we're all talking about today here in this hearing, only about a quarter of kids who use funds like this in other states were ever in public schools to begin with. For them, a typical school receiving these dollars that focusing on these transfers from public to private school are not the elite private school providers of Hollywood lore or some of the marketing that we've all seen set before us around this bill and others like it. They're what I call subprime providers. They're often financially distressed. And that's why voucher results over the last decade, as I changed my mind and when the data changed, over the last decade, we've seen learning loss associated with some of these bills on par with what COVID-19 did to test scores more recently, or what Hurricane Katrina did to test scores. It's that bad. It's been since 2013 that a study has shown that vouchers improve educational attainment. I know because I wrote it. It's been since 2002 since a study showed that vouchers improved test scores for children. I know because I was a young graduate student assisting with that study. Bigger and the more recent the voucher system, the worse the results have been. There's no dispute about that, not in the previous witness testimony, not in the data we're looking at too. The only difference is how well we should weigh old pilot studies from the 1990s versus more large-scale studies over the last few years. What about parent satisfaction? Parents should have the first and the last say when it comes to their child's schooling. But the question before this committee isn't really about that. It's about how to spend taxpayer dollars, at least as I understand it, and whether to do so in a way that puts the interest of the private schools ahead of parents. A pro-parent version of this bill would require private schools taking taxpayer cash as payment to offer open admissions, or at least administer the state exam, because that way all parents could truly choose those private schools, and just as importantly, they'd be able to compare apples to apples the results of that choice, which they can't do in the current bill. So just to sum up sort of my concerns with this, I'm very worried about that parents are potentially being sold a bit of a bill of goods by the schools that they might be searching out for. That's not to say they're all bad actors in the system, not at all. In fact, the vast majority of private schools, the vast majority of public schools are all trying to do what's best for kids and families. The problem is what do we do to allow parents actual choice if we're going to go down this road? And unfortunately, the language in this bill really does center the needs of the private schools and the choice of the private schools over parents. So I'm happy to take questions as well, and I appreciate your time.